Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my fellow YouTubers, Facebookians. Aries Sky here with a video that could be a little longer than usual. First of all, I want to talk to you about what Angela asked me about. She wants to know, and she was curious because she said she wants to marry me, what my childhood and teenage years and etc. is like. Well, let me just say, when I was born in 1978, I don't remember. However, I don't remember much until around 1981 when my family moved to Washington, 1981 was the year of the arcades. Donkey Kong Jr., Donkey Kong 3, etc., and years up to that. I'll explain the arcades later to you, Angela. So, anyways, 1981, I was about 3 years old. I had a security binky that was lost in 1987. My mom's boyfriend tried to steal it from me. My mom claims she had it till she died. But I have a new binky. I'll explain to that one later. So from 1981, I didn't speak much. Apparently, I didn't speak till I was about 5 to 7 years old. I had very few words. I was like autistic or disabled. Children's Hospital records in Seattle said I only knew a few words like cold, hungry, and tired. So, and that I hated glasses and I'd break every pair that I had, and I had mild dental problems. And of course, that's what the file said for mental and etc. So, from 1985 onwards, I had my Nintendo Entertainment System. I didn't get a Sega Genesis or Sega Master System until about 1988, and it wasn't that good. In my opinion, my mom was disappointed because I played the NES more than the Sega Master System. So in 1984, I think it was, is when they tried putting me in preschool and it didn't work, 1985, etc., I failed, from 1985 and onwards, I had to, 1985 to 1987, I think it is. It was 1981 to 1980. Anyways, I lived with my aunts and my uncles at their house. My Uncle Butch, my aunt, my mom rented rooms, I think it was, and then my, so I was around my cousins a lot being disabled. Most of them, I jumped around a lot, and Aunt Aya took care of me a lot. Same with Aunt Maya. Aunt Maya, by the way, she's Japanese. So 1987, we rented a house from a guy named Roy. And Roy was like stepfather to me. I always call him Pops, and, my mom's boyfriend, Dave, he always wanted me to call him Dad or Daddy, and it was like, no. I adopted to Roy, and I love Roy. He's still like my father, and deep down he's my stepfather. The father I never had. He always, knew how to take care of me and stuff. I mean, I remember a few times when I would sit there and he'd feel my head and be like, Rita's sick. You need to do something. Tell my mom. My mom's like, well, I don't have time. Pop would get in his diesel pickup truck, drive me to the doctor since I had medical. And the doctor would diagnose me with this or that or the other. And Pops always looked out for me. My sister tried, but my sister was different, and I'll explain my sister in a minute. But anyways, from 1987 to 1990, 1993, I was in Pop's house, and nothing happened really. I used to pester my mom for a few things. I'd be like, oh, I want that Sega Game Gear, Sega Genesis. Sega Genesis was acquired first, then the Game Gear. And my mom, I remember asking every day, I saw commercials on it, My mom's like, the Game Boy is the better system. The Game Boy is the better system. I was the kid that pestered her. Well, growing up, from 19 whatever to whatever, 8th grade, let's see, 91 to 92, 92 to 93. Okay, so 90 to 91 or 91, 92, I went into junior high school. Anyways, I was in special education, or special ed, all the way to 6th grade. I mean, they put me in mainstream for 1 year, and I almost failed it. But my childhood was hard. And I mean, in 6th grade, I was raped by 6 people, 6 students and or 5 students and 2 things, broom handles, you name it, in the sponsor camp. I didn't want to go back to school. Child Protective Services was going to threaten to take me away, and my mom finally didn't know what to do. My sister finally, she cared for me, but she didn't. She finally found out. We tried suing the school. It didn't work because the school was protecting itself, and the police department said, well, medical files are out there. It was raped with human, boys, things, and broom handles. They took a broom and crammed it where I don't want to talk about. And then my mom tried to keep me out of everything, drugs, alcohol, you name it. My mom's best friend, the guy wanted me to call him Dad. His son Dave took booze, mixed it all together. Oh yeah, you're pretty good. Well, me, I didn't drink. I was the type that I like movies, I like music, and I liked video games. My mom kept giving me video games. Well, I was transferred to a different school at 6th grade to my teacher. My teacher at the time knew I wanted to be a girl, and I loved certain clothes, She wore certain clothes because it made me feel more comfortable knowing that I could be just like my redheaded teacher. Well, not much happened in the 6th grade. 7th grade, on the other hand, when I joined the 7th grade, I had a teacher that, 7th and 8th grade, I think, I never graduated 9th at all, so... but 7th grade, I got to sit back and protect myself. I mean, I went to Alaska. Wasn't bad. My sister was kind of being mean, I found out my teeth damage was because at the time I swore, foul language, and they washed my mouth out with lava soap, which has lye in it, and lye damages teeth and will deteriorate them so teeth can fall out. Well, when I got back, my sister didn't want to know me. After that, it was like, the hell with her. She'd come down from Alaska to see my mom. She didn't want to know me. It was like, F you. You're a piece of crap, So, the bottom line is from 1993 onwards, I worked at a restaurant for a while as a dishwasher. That didn't work. But my mom always, even till she died, always looked out for me. It was like, oh, well, Rita did this, Rita that, My mom used to tell me, find a disabled girl, marry, be happy, I tried finding ones in Russia and other countries because I figured it'd be easier, but bringing them into the country is very hard, so, but yeah, anyways, so I got plenty of video games. I had all my favorite game series. That's why I said these game series are best, because I actually had all those games. Some of them, well, so from 1999 to 2003, I went to Australia. Now here's the problem that happened, Angela. When I went to Australia, I had a storage shed. I had jumbo TVs, video games, arcades, pinball machines, you name it. The first wife, I call her, invested it all. She almost had everything lined up to come over here. Well, I didn't know the first wife, that's what, had a problem with finances. And one day, a guy knocked on our door in Australia and said, we're taking the house. I said, no, you're not. The guy says, you might be American, you might deck the crap out of me, we can put you in prison for a while and then deport you. Well, Fiona, she stepped in the middle and said no. We went to the courts, everything else, we lost the house, but we had everything we had. Well, while we were losing our house, we rented a place. Well, the place was too expensive. It was like 1,000 Australian a month. Well, I finally told her downsize. Well, we got an apartment. Finally, we ended up on the streets for a while, homeless. And that time, I wouldn't let go of Fiona. She's like, go back to America, forget about me. Well, I got a letter one day, and it was true. Now, basically, it's from my mom that said, your storage shed was broke into. I gave the key. I told them to take the big stuff and downsize. I know you wouldn't mind. You could rebuild. But my storage shed, my sister and my stepfather, my sister took everything, sold it, blaming my stepfather. Well, I didn't know who was right and who was wrong. So, in the end, let's just say I got very violent at the time. Not too violent. I rebuilt everything that I wanted, but My mom had to get me into counseling at the time because I was very angry at the fact that I lost everything. I blamed her for it. My sister in Alaska's husband died of a massive heart attack. This is going to be really morbid to you, Angela. Died Christmas Day, and she went up there. She wrote a letter to me, and she says, I know after this you're going to hate me. I did this and this. I didn't hate Mom. I hated my stepfather, Roy, at the time. And Roy, well, when I got in touch with the father, he said, no. He says, I didn't do it. I explicitly followed everything to your mom. Your mom will tell me. So I went to my mom one night. After I got drunk in a bar, my mom says, yes, your sister did it. I'm positive. So on my mom's deathbed, my sister turned around and spilled the beans to Aaron. Basically saying, I screwed Rita. Rita deserved it. Blah, blah, blah. Rita's the freaking favorite. Blah, blah, blah. My mom thought my sister, Caprice, was going to be the favorite. The breadwinner. I always envied my sister. At times I wanted to be her. I mean, she had kids. She had this. She had that. What did I have? I was a lowly piece of crap, you know. My sister had this and this and that. And then my sister regrets my mom being with her because my mom came up with a photo one time at Christmas time. Or no, it was Thanksgiving. And it was of her dad. She never seen her dad. She's like, I can't take the drama. And she told her kids to leave. Aaron and I were just sitting there trying to have a nice prime rib. And we were shocked. And I said, Mom, what was that about? Oh, well, I found it, you know. Thing is, my sister found out she could have been the sole heir to a vast fortune and be a rich, rich person. Well, my sister, Angela, decided after my mom died to go to North Carolina. She was in abusive relationships. After that, she found a guy who's fat, overweight, and wealthy with more money than you or I or your family will ever see. She shacked up with him, as we call it, shacked up, or having sex with him, doing whatever. And my sister, she went downhill. She's only thinking about the greens, the dollars. I was told not to talk to any of my other sisters. Well, when my mom died, everyone just spread out. One sister didn't want to know me, another sister didn't want to know me. So finally I contacted one sister that I didn't get to talk to 20 years. And well, she's the only one I talk to much. You know, I just told her recently I was in the hospital for heart trouble, and well, it was amazing. So, but growing up, whatever I wanted, pretty much. I mean, I gotta tell you a story one time. I rebuilt it by that now, but anyways, one year I had a catalog I used to get in the mail all the time from Electronic Boutique. It was called EB Games, Electronic Boutique Games, EB Games, and it was just Electronic Boutique. It's the '93 catalog. I had this guy that took me to the University of Washington. I met all the football coaches. I met the entire team in the University of Washington. You know, they're going up against the Cougars. I said, good luck at the Rose Bowl. I'd like to hold the Rose Bowl trophy when I got back. It was in a case. They unlocked the case when they got back, and I got a picture of it somewhere in my keepsake box. But anyways, here's the thing. '93, my mom went out of her way. Everything I wanted in this catalog was bam, bam, bam. Between this person helping or that person, I got a great Christmas. And when I wanted certain things, I usually got it. I mean, when I was disabled, still am, before getting on disability, before going to Australia, my mom's boyfriend, the guy who wanted me to call him Dad, he told the Social Security office, oh, sure can work, I have the heart trouble. What they do to put me in that DVR program, what you have, Developmental Vocational Rehabilitation. Then I had no high school education. They put me in as a lowly janitor. Well, I went through all these damn programs. I got sorry, I call it damn programs. And I got through it. One day, the Hispanic guy I knew, was taking 2 bags of soda cans a day. I mean, we were in a factory that had cans, right? Soda cans. We were a contractor. He was taking the soda cans, juice cans, whatever, you know. And they had a place where they had 2 fridges upstairs and downstairs. And they recycled the cans. He was taking them. They were thinking I was doing it. So I finally gave in my keys. But the worst was when they came to me and they said I stole a computer. I said, no, I didn't. My best friend said no, I didn't. He was a technician there. I don't know what happened to my best friend, and I'll tell you, I'm kind of upset because I called my best friend's phone today, and it was disconnected. He's always talking. He's disabled himself now. He's always talking about suicide, so I'm worried about one of my friends I grew up with for almost 20 years. I had to use him as a witness and a character reference for my lawsuit, which I lost. But anyways, so after that, I was told, oh, we're going to check your house for the computer, blah, blah, blah. Well, at that time, Fiona says, I'm going to bring you to Australia. I never told her. I got to Australia. They said, we're coming after you, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. You're going to arrest me in Australia. And they found out I was in Australia. My mom said, yeah, Rita's in Australia. What are you going to do about it? They dropped it. They didn't, my mom let him go through the whole house. Nothing. I didn't have a computer. My friend was like, oh, well, it's good that you, and, my friend's name called me Tara because of Final Fantasy VI character. So I was like, okay. So, but yeah, anyways, my childhood was good. When I came back from Australia, I started to rebuild. I did what I could, but my sister was one of those types that still was like, I'm going to take care of Mom when she's on her dying bed and blah, blah, blah. Well, my mom was dying. From 2002 to 2005, I was so miserable. I lost everything I owned. I was rebuilding. I had a sister that was trying to say I couldn't handle money. I mean, look around, Angela. I live in a place where I have a nice office supplies, as you would say. And finally, I got that all taken care of. My stepfather, Roy, he says, hey, Rita can handle money better than anyone. He used to tell me to go find someone overseas to marry and then come back to America, even if they're stuck in another country. But anyways, so from 2005, I met Aaron, and 2006, after Aaron was with me a year, I went to her. 2004, something like that. Anyways, 2005, I was getting ready. I was told I went to Cedar Point. I met Aaron's dad. Stayed 2 weeks at Aaron's dad's place. Went to Cedar Point. 2005, no problem. 2006, I was told I had to go to a new place. We emailed every place in Washington for housing, subsidized. Well, we got into Quincy, where they discriminated me 6 years later. Well, after that, 2008, I was listening to some music one morning, and Aaron's grandmother died. I said, Aaron, there's something happened. Some old lady was over my bed this morning. And I told him the whole dream, and he was like, oh, that's cool. I had this weird thing at this time. I said, at the same time the girl was hovering over my bed, I had to pee. Phone rings. I answered, and I'm like, oh, what's up? And he's like, oh, Aaron. And I'm like, oh, Aaron. And I had my earbuds on. I was listening to the song by the Batman soundtrack. It's called Crossing the River by U2, I think it is. And Aaron said never play that song in front of him because I was listening to it and I was jamming to it, and it's Batman Forever, I think it is. It's called I think it's this one. Let's see. There is hold me, throw me, kiss me, kill me. One time, where are you now? Kiss from a rose, capture the game. No one to tell me to smash it up. Massive attack with Tracy Thorn, Brandy, PJ Harvey, U2. Might be another Batman song. It might be Batman and Robin, I think it might be. But anyways, it was running from one of those, and I was listening to it, and I was listening to it, jamming to it, enjoying myself, and like I said, Aaron basically did not like it. From that point on, it was his grandmother's song for death, and he was like, never, ever, ever play it. I think it was, Batman Forever, but excuse me for tooting. Usually I don't toot on camera, but I have plenty of movie soundtracks, so I'll have to look for it for you, Angela. But from what I understand, it was something like Crossing the River or something by U2. I could look it up real quick. I can also play it for you if you wish, but yeah, it was just something really funky, I like movie soundtracks, but the Batman one, you know. Let's see. Batman motion picture. I love that one. Swore it was that one, the YouTube one, but I don't know. You know, I don't have the thing in front of me. I have too many CDs, and I'm trying to look for it while talking to you. But yeah, after that, we went there, and 2008, I think it was. 2008. We had to handle the grandmother's affairs, and she died. So I went down to Owensboro, Kentucky, where she was buried. And I'm telling you, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. And after that, 2 years later, we went back to Cleveland, and well, things fell apart. You know, someone stole something of his dad's. The dad blamed me for it. The whole thing fell apart. Aaron was like, no, it wasn't Rita. And since then, we weren't allowed to even talk to, you know. Let me see real quick for you. Crossing the River Styx. Crossing the River Styx by YouTube, I believe is the name. Might be Crossing the River. Let me see. The Divines Crossing the River. Crossing the River by Batman. The Devlins Crossing the River by the Batman and Forever. So the Batman Forever is right here. Let's see. Crossing the River, yes, number 12. Yes, so, yeah, I'll have to send you a link to it, Angela, but you get the point. So, it was. I didn't see it all the way at the bottom. I thought it was, like, number 3 or 4. But anyways, then in 2010, I had to go back to Cleveland for Aaron's dental work. Well, when we went there, we spent 3 months. His dad had some German lady there, and she was nice and all. Aaron was transgender. He was trying to go through sex change, and he had all the German ladies' clothes. Well, this lady had huge boobs like this. I mean, you could take your bra and put it on one of her cups and put it on your head. That's how big she was. Well, recently she removed me on Facebook because of something I said about the medical. She's like, "Why you voted for Obama? You're in trouble." Blah blah blah. Well, she also believed the BS that Poppy said about Aaron's dad. That's his nickname for me, Poppy. About a few things. Well, one of Poppy's friends, basically, Poppy claims is transgendered, had a sex change, lives as a woman, doesn't have any kids, calls her dogs her kids. So, but anyways, the bottom line, Angela, is simple. The thing is, I lived pretty good. I mean, once I rebuilt, I was fine, but I almost tried committing suicide because I didn't find anyone, and Aaron came to my rescue, you know, and he stayed with me as a best friend. And when my mom died, well, my mom asked him to look after me till at least I got married. Well, Aaron said, well, I'm going to stay with you because he doesn't have many friends and no family, and his family's disowned him, you know. I met his cousins, they're all rich. He's got an aunt that's a billionaire, not a millionaire, not with an M, but a billionaire. And she's so cheap, she won't leave him a dime and not even give him any. So he's like, the hell with it. But me, my mom died. My family stripped everything of her apartment. Didn't leave me but like 8 photos. That's it, 8. I mean, look at this. You see that? That was me. My mom, I got the little photo with that. My sister said it was one of the things that I was worthy to have with my little Dukes of Hazzard shirt. Bottom line, Angela, and I want to say this, that, you know, oh, I did a few stupid things in my past. I mean, mind you, I mean, I remember one time, my mom, she never punished me, and that's why I think because I was disabled, I got away with it, but with my children, they're not going to. They're going to be punished, you know, even if they have to dishwash for 6 weeks or whatever. But my mother would go to sleep. And at one time, I wanted these things from the Nintendo Power magazine catalog I got. I was a subscriber to Nintendo Power. My mom set me up for it. One time I wanted these things. They had this game bundle. It was like 20 Game Boy games. No problem, right? Very cheap. I was like, Mom, I want it. No, you can't have it. Mom, I want it. No. Well, my mom was a waitress. She was bringing in $200 a day, right? She figured, well, it was either me or my sister. My sister, she was like, oh, I would never do that, Mom. Well, my sister did a few screwy things. Well, stuck into my mom's room a long time ago. This is like 10 years old, 12 years old. I got out. Roy never even knew it. I got on my bike and I rode all the way down to a 7-Eleven about a mile away. 7-Eleven said, sorry, we don't do the money orders. Rode to another 7-Eleven about 4 miles away on my bike. Sorry, the money order machine's broken. Turned around. Went to another 7-Eleven, same thing. Well, finally, on my way back, I made probably a 20-mile round trip. I wanted the money order. I had the cash in my hand, and $1 bills, $5, etc. Got to the one at the bottom of the hill, about 3 miles from my school. Walked in there exhausted. The guy looked at me and he says, you need a hot dog, kid? And I'm like, I'm hungry. I went to this one, I have to get a money order from my mom. And my mom works at 3:30 in the morning. She didn't want to drive around at this time of night. He's like, oh, you're a good kid. Money order machine worked. Filled it all out, popped it in the envelope, mailed it off to Nintendo. Got my games. My mom didn't even know about it. One day my mom was sitting there, trying to figure out where the money went. Well, another time, I do the same thing. I finally figured out which 7-Eleven always was active. My mom never went to that 7-Eleven. I'd go there and I'd be like, yeah, I need a money order from my mom. I bought a little portable TV about yay big. And then another one, and then another one, and then other things. No one even knew. I mean, that's how sly I was. I would ride my bike. Well, finally, my stepfather said, you must be tired going out at night, riding your bike when everyone's supposed to be asleep. I'm like, uh-huh. Well, one day, my stepfather, around 2003, we're having coffee one day, and he says, I know what you did, kid. Your mom never picked up on it, and if she did, she was smart enough not to prosecute you or go after you. Well, those are the little things that I did when I was a child that I'm not proud of. Time I wanted things, mom wouldn't let me, so I just did it. I remember one time, I set up a money order and everything with my mom's name for Christmas gifts for myself. Went down, ordered a boatload of video games. Sent the money order out, that was it. I woke up, feeling refreshed, went to school. Mom never even knew it. When the shipment came in, I got it. But one time my stepfather intercepted the shipment, but it was on pay-as-you-go, order a certain amount of Blu-rays or DVDs or Laserdiscs. That's what Laserdisc was at the time. Guess what? Same thing. He kept it, but he reamed me a new one for it. After that, I was very careful of how I went along my shipments, to get them shipped. I went through different places. Well, finally, I matured enough when we moved to the new place that my mom, I don't know what happened, but my mom basically said, I'm going to work since I'm not enrolling in the school, and every place want to put you in mainstream meaning I'm going to fail. My mom says, at 16 you can work. In the meantime, you can stay at home. So I was like, okay. So, stepfather would come by and he'd be like, you're not working age, and I can't use you if you have an accident, but, why don't you, just, keep an eye on things. Well, at home, I'd sit there and I'd play video games, and I got bored. So my mom would come home with new game systems that I never had. 3DO, Atari Jaguar, Atari Jaguar CD, the other things like the NEC's TurboGrafx system. I'd play those and I'd get bored. When finally I got to work, I was making my own money and I was buying what I want, arcade, this, that, whatever. Well, one time the manager yelled at me and I said, enough's enough. I wrote a letter and said F you to the manager. And after that, no job at any restaurant. Well, then the DVR program, everything fell apart, and then I went to Australia. When I came back, I applied for disability, denied. Second time through, approved. But yeah, I was a rascal at different things, Christmas times and stuff. I remember at Christmas times, when I was growing up, Angela, my mother would drag me to the mall, biggest mall in North America at the time. We would go there, and we would just sit, and my mom would be going from store to store. What do you want? My sister, I want this boombox. I want this. Well, he's the retard, We'd stop at the Nintendo of America kiosk. It was basically Nintendo or World of Nintendo at the time. It was a thing, right? And growing up, when my mom went clothes shopping for clothes, right, this is how pissed off my mom's boyfriend, the guy who wanted me to call him Daddy. We'd go there, and he'd be like, Rita's a troublemaker. Rita won't do this. Rita won't do that. Rita won't do this. My grandmother used to go with me, too. My grandmother would be like, well, we'll get your clothes done. My sister would be like, hurry up. You're the spoiled one. Well, one time, 1985, when they opened up World of Nintendo, my mom was there, and I was like this. And they had a touch screen thing. It was the newest thing. And I'd sit there and be like, do you want to play Zelda 2? Do the screens and all this. And then pre-order it now. And I was like, cool. My mom would do stuff like that. Well, Nintendo kiosk came out, ended in like 1992. But anyways, my mom would go clothes shopping. She'd be like, we're going to go to Rita's favorite store. Well, Rita's a spoiled little brat that don't do anything. That was my mom's boyfriend. My grandmother would be ready to take the rolling pin and, well, anyways, my mom would be like, what games are there? I'd be like, these 3 look good. My mom would order them. I went through all the roll around, turn around, you look cute in the little boy clothes, blah, blah, blah. You're a cute little boy. Finally, video game time. My brother, that's what my mom's boyfriend, my mom wanted me. Well, your adopted little brother Dave, the bigger, older one, you know. So my mom got me a game system, and my mom's boyfriend, well, he's not worthy of it. Takes it and puts it in the community. My mom finally went in one day and says, went in, picked up the phone, used her Sears card, and says, I want a TV, I want a game system. Took all the games, basically, except for the one that had, like, Duck Hunt, Super Mario Brothers, and Track and Field on one cartridge. Said, here, Rita. I'd sit in my room at the door going, Rita's unworthy. Well, a few times my mom had extra systems put away in storage in case one broke. He sold, my mom's boyfriend sold them. My mom's boyfriend was an a-hole. Finally, my grandmother said, enough's enough. Well, I stayed with my grandmother, my aunts, etc. Well, in the end, he moved out. My mom's like, well, you don't have to deal with it. Well, my mom's boyfriend's son married my sister, had a child. He abused me one time. My mom said enough. Sister said, well, they have it coming. Rita deserved it. Well, guess what? Then my sister wouldn't speak for about 9 months. Well, my sister finally realized after he laid a finger on her. Yeah. Well, then she turned around and said, well, Rita didn't deserve it, blah, blah, blah. Well, when my mom died, my sister told me I deserved everything in my past that happened. Well, bottom line, Angela, is I did some rascally things. But some of the stuff I remember is great. When Super NES came out, before World of Nintendo became Game Zone or whatever, oh man, I loved, or, you know, Game Pros. I loved going there. I mean, I remember, you know, Christmas time, unwrapping my presents, finding out what they were, wrapping them up, you know, re-wrapping them. Stuff like that we did as kids. And nowadays, if I have kids, I'm going to re-wrap my stuff so my child doesn't even get to see what they have. Because my kid, no. I mean, back then, when I grew up in the 80s and 90s, we did rascally things. I mean, heck, it was the thrill of it, you know. Getting on your bike at 10:30 at night, traveling 20 plus miles round trip just to find a money order place to go get your video games because your mom's being stingy. I mean, don't even try this. Your mom is a loving mother. She's protective. But growing up, me being disabled, I had a few ideas myself. And, you know, I instituted. Heck, I remember one time my sister basically said, watch out what you're doing, Rita. And it said, I slipped on black ice, slipped on pure ice, skinned my knees all the way down a hill, basically, slicing up my nose. And I've had stitches many times in my nose. Shopping cart. Heck, when I grew up, my mom used to tell me, and the people at Fred Meyer's or Kroger's, remember me running around the shopping mart every time that I got off. My mom had the school bus drop me off at her work. And I'd go around Fred Meyer's like 5 times a week with a shopping cart loading stuff up that I wanted. And they'd have to put it back. My mom would be like, I'm sorry. Well, they all thought I was humorous and funny, you know. Kid loading up a shopping cart like a shopping spree at Toys R Us. Heck, I've had a shopping spree a few times at Toys R Us where it made me happy. Heck, I used to go to Toys R Us like 3 times a week because I had this counseling session. Next door to it was Toys R Us. Eventually they changed Toys R Us so much around I didn't want to go in there after a while, so my mom was just like, poor kid. And then going to the mall was getting lame too at the time. I mean, It was funny, you know. I mean, the mall got to the point where I had no use for it. I got my music CDs through an online mail order place. I thought, hey, convenient. I don't even have to leave my apartment or my home, you know. My mom one day finally destroyed one of my coffee pots because she had a little coffee pot. She's like, oh, use it. And finally she's like, you can't keep it in your bathroom plugged in while you're having coffee. Well, my mom got pissed. So finally I put it in my room, you know. One time my mom's like, well, the old microwave is good, but you need this. Mom walked in one day to my room, and she's, walked into my room in summertime. I was like, bing! She walked in, looked at me, and she says, you got that old microwave in there? And I just moved me a Hot Pocket or something. I was like, yeah, I'm having a TV dinner or something, you know. And I'm sitting there watching my TV, you know, like, whatever. You got school. Well, that's fine, but I was hungry. You know, my mom, I lived in my room basically. I had a microwave, a little refrigerator. I never came out much unless after. Sometimes my mom would be, but now about my childhood. 7th and 8th grade was special education, junior high, right? The first 3 months of the school year, we had to go to bowling. We had bowling every Friday. Monday through Thursday was shopping around at different stores. Wasn't bad. My mom would send me a shopping list, and you know, as part of our life skills course, 7th and 8th. The second 3 months was roller skating. Yeah, I got used to it till one time I broke my leg, and the leg, foot, etc. Third 3 months was swimming. I didn't mind. Well, 7th grade was one of my greatest years, and I'll explain why. You can call me a pervert, Angela, if you wish. But one of the things I got in trouble with one of my teachers in 8th grade was I was insulting my 8th grade teacher, right? And my mom wanted me to do something during gym because I had 2 courses of gym. I had special ed gym and then full-time gym. Well, full-time gym, the teacher's pissed. And so finally, she gave me something like this, right? She says, I want you to look for this, this, and this. So I had to write down all the information in a phone book. Not everything in the phone book, but certain things that she wanted. Make phone calls, answer the phone at the school. We had a room with a phone in it, so I'd be like, hello, thank you for room number 219. My name's Rita. How may I help you? We had stuff like that we had to do. Well, anyways, Angela. So, the 7th grade was interesting because there was a girl, and I'm going to embarrass myself because, you know, I love you, and I feel you're my soulmate stuff, so I'll tell you. So one time, this girl was wearing a dress, you know, it's a polka dot dress. I said, I love that dress. I would like to try it on. Well, one day, she was wearing white tights, you know, and I said, that is really cool, you know. Well, she took off her tights, took off her bra, took off her panties, took off the dress. She changed out to a different outfit. She had extra clothes with her. Handed me a brown paper bag. Well, I'm going to tell you what happened, right? So, nothing happened with that. Well, I got home, I looked at it, and it was her whole entire outfit. And she had my phone number. She's like, I hope you like my gift, Rita. You know, I use my new name, not my old name. One day I was on the school bus, right? And I was behind the bus driver. I always sat there. That was my designated seat. I was half time sleeping, whatever. Well, I got a paper bag. It was a lunch brown paper bag. I opened it up, and the bus driver swore I had the smelliest cheese in the world. It was her tights. And she gave them to me. And she thought it was Limburger. Well, she kept giving me tights and this and that, swimsuits, etc. One day, she went to the teacher. You know, I had so many pairs of tights and everything. She says, I didn't know what to do, right? So my teacher says, Rita, I'd like to talk to you. I hear such and such said blah, blah, blah. I got pissed. Walked out of the room. Walked onto my locker with the teacher's aide and the teacher. I said, go ahead. Opened up. Where is it? Well, it could be yours. Really? You want to challenge my mom? My mom went in and says, no, they never did that, right? Well, I couldn't fess up that the girl gave me her clothes. Her mom was kind of upset, right? She was going into 9th grade after that. And we always shared drinks and everything else. Well, it was an interesting experience how I ended up with the clothes. Well, 8th grade was somewhat similar, because I had mainstream gym clothes, etc. And then ninth grade clothes and stuff. But after ninth grade, I never, after that kid pulled out a gun right in the schooling, it was like snub nose 38. That was it. I said, enough. I had to tell the counselor everything else. After that, I never went back to school. I said, the hell with it. I'm not going to have some jackbooted thug me like, hey, yeah, you're going down, kid. And he was like maybe 17, so I was like, So my stepfather said, they're not going to be enthralled. But the tights, my stepbrother, I'm going to make a joke with you. All right? Not a joke so much. I have it locked in a special place. My stepbrother took all the clothes that this girl gave me, all the girls gave me, threw them out, burned them, whatever. Well, the tights, of course, I kept. One pair. Over the years, it's been trapped in a Ziploc bag right here. It's under my pillow because, frankly, I can't part with it because, frankly, being a disabled girl, it's unique that it's been here for 20 plus years in a Ziploc bag. I change out the bags periodically, but it stays there. And when I'm scared or something, I'll clinch to this, pray to God, because, frankly, well, it's just me. The other pairs and everything else went missing. Well, I used to cross-dress, before I going through sex change. And my stepbrother, one time, my sister almost beat the piss out of him. She had this all-white outfit. I was trying to find it recently. And one time, she came into my room, and she says, what do you think? And her boyfriend at the time was Hispanic, that was the father of the second child. I said, that looked good on me. No, it won't. Well, my mom wore it once, My mom wanted brown pantyhose, and my sister said no white. Well, when my mom washed up the white, borrowed the tights from my sister, and said my sister was going to get it back, well, I ended up with it in my wardrobe. Well, my brother one day went in and saw all of it, and then my sister came to me and says, where's that one outfit? I have an interview. I want to look professional in it. I says, talk to Brother Michael. Why? He burned it. What? It was like a $300, $400 outfit. She went, oh, you mean that all white one look good with the little white tights that, such and such was wearing? I thought they were a freak. My sister grabbed him by the throat almost, wanted to ream him anew. She had that on sale, dirt cheap, and said it was burned up. She never trusted him after that because, well, we're trying to, Dad and I are trying to convince that Rita shouldn't be a girl but a guy. Well, so little things like that is what I grew up with growing up, Angela. And, after that, it was like, I remember my father when I met him once in Ohio. He's like, you want to be a guy where you can enjoy intimacy with a girl, or do you want to be the girl having intimacy with a guy? Well, he kept trying pushing me on his blonde room. He rented rooms out, and he had a blonde. She was gorgeous, but she had her own attitude, Barbara. I can still remember her name. She was hot, but I wasn't interested. I wanted to be in the basement. I wanted to know what Dad was doing at times, So finally, when I left for Ohio, 2 months later, 1990, he died. But I got to meet my father several times throughout my life, and every time it was good to me. But point is I was different. I was transgendered. I knew at 3 years old I was meant to be a girl, but my mom always tried to pamper me. Oh, well, you can have these clothes, you can have these Matchbox cars. Every day she brought me a Matchbox car home, or 2 or 3, or whatever, And I grew out of that around age 10 or 11, And then she brought home all the pennies, and I'd roll them once a month, or her dime. And then when I wanted more, she'd let me roll up all her nickels. And when those were done for the month, I wanted her dimes. Finally, I ended up with all her quarters. But she upped the paper bills. Well, it was, and you knew, like, my mom was a single mother. She was an alcoholic. She did her best. My sister said I got pampered like the grand poobah that I was, or queen, or princess, or maybe I was. But you know what? My mom knew I was disabled. I had to go through Children's Hospital, where a giant room that's big as my apartment complex. With all these child's toys, I had to choose some to play with while they were doing mental evaluations and stuff. I mean, I'm telling you, living in my life, Angela, was not easy at times, you know. And the whole thing about the girls' clothes, I don't even know, truthfully, how I ended up with it, you know. I mean, I saw you in that polka dot dress, and that was perfect for you. But, you know, truthfully, between you and I, there's one thing that makes me, really interested, and my mom knew this, was I was more focused on wondering what type of color the socks were, whether they were tights or hose, and etc. And, you know, I clinged to my teachers and people that wore those type things. When they started clinging to white tights more, I was more clinging to the girls that was wearing them, you know. But nowadays, I'm holed up here, you know. You don't see it. No one wears brown tights. No one wears white, whatever. They're all rude, you know. In this day and age, it's pure rude. Back then, it was like, yes, ma'am, thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, thank you, welcome, you know. Now it's like, I deserve it because I'm this. I mean, I live in Hispanicville or Mexicanville or Little Mexico where everyone is for themselves. They don't give two damns. And because of it, Angela, things are different. You know, when I moved out here, it was better. But finally, you know, I learned that the other culture out here, the Hispanics, they just think for themselves. You know, they'll pop out 7 or 8 kids. Well, nowadays, it's different. It's like to each their own. Some are born poor. They want to make it big. Instead, they screw over others. Me, then they say I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Well, maybe I was. But you know what, Angela? I don't think I was. When my mom died, my world crumbled. I went on TransPassion through a minister friend. I met a Hispanic woman who claimed she was transgendered. She was a genetic female trying to pull it off because her husband's in prison. Found out through Aaron. Out of every person I met on TransPassion, the one that I have more respect for and care for is you. And that's why this video is so long, is because, well, you asked me. My childhood was, you know, I mean, for example, I woke up, right? I believed in the Easter Bunny. I woke up one Easter, for example, and I had 4 Game Boy systems, the original Game Boys, in the boxes. 3 of them were put on the shelf. 1 was used at all times. When I had to go to camp, one of the camps, where I knew that one girl was wearing white tights, she was like, here, have these. For some reason, I don't know why. Maybe it's my metabolism mind or whatever. I call up my mom, Mom, I miss you and I miss my Game Boy. My sister had the Game Boy on loan. She was like, oh yeah, Tetris. I mean, my aunt used to say, stay with me, Rita, and I give you Game Boy. Stay with me, Rita, and I give you Super NES. I'd end up with those things. My aunt wanted me to spend the night at her house. My mom was kind of pissed. My uncle was wealthy, by the way, but who cares? And you know what? Christmas times, I'd open up, I'd have Super NES, or NES action set, NES such and such set, NES with Robot, NES with all these games. I have like 20 games at Christmas time. I remember one birthday I got a game I never even knew about. My cousin's like, this isn't bad. Well, my brother and stepbrother Michael went to destroy all the clothes. We got into it one day, and he's like, hey, do you understand this? And I finally understood it. My first role-playing game. I was like, this is cool. Well, one day I was at the store, for example. My mom went to the warehouse. It was a place for movies. My mom loaded up, like, stacks and stacks of, like, she got her tax return. She's like, do you want anything to read at? And I says, yeah, but Cappy's going to complain. That's what I called my sister, Caprice. She says, Cappy can complain. She's got her own kid. What do you want? Tetris, Dr. Mario, and I have like stack of NES games like this. Super NES just came out. Mom's like, we'll get these games for you and Game Boy too. Mom, you shouldn't do that. Well, guess what? My sister complained that night. My mom hit up Fred Meyer's or Kroger's. They had games. Oh, we'll take these ones. My kid needs it. Oh, thank you, Mom. I'm going to the mall. Well, she had a little car, right? Put him in the trunk, locked it up. We went into the mall. There was the warehouse. There was a couple other places. There was EB Games. There was GameStop. And there was Babbage's. There was software, etc. Like 4 games. Sears. I came out with a boatload of games like this. Huge Game Boy games, NES games, a few Super NES games. Went home. My mom's like, "You're fine." One time my mom's like, "How am I going to get my kid, Roy?" That's my stepfather. He adopted me. He wasn't married to my mom or dated her. I adopted him. I'm going to get the kid to mow the lawn because we rented his house. My mom, one time I came home and there was a couch full of games. Games, Super Scope 6, etc. I was like, "Oh yeah!" Mowed the lawn, no problem. My sister's like, "You have to read it, I remember one time I was reading Nintendo Power and I told my mom about this game. My sister says, "I'm going to be nice and get the kid the game." I'm telling you, games back then, like Super NES games, are $80 a pop. I remember one birthday. My mom said, "What do you want?" I said, "Oh, this game's coming out. I beat the first one, but the second one's coming out." My mom got me the second one. Oh man, I sat there for hours trying to figure that out. Finally, I beat it. My mom says, "How long did it take you?" Longer than it should have, but it was worth it. Remember one time, NEC, right? TurboGrafx, 3DO, Goldstar 3DO, Panasonic 3DO, other game systems that you don't hear anything about anymore, Angela. Hold on a sec. And I asked my mom, "Mom, I like these." My mom at the time, layaway is. Fred Meyer's, Walmart, etc. Well, they had layaway at Fred Meyer's, so my mom went out of her way and decided, "I'm going to get rid of these game systems at Fred Meyer's." They were closed out because they were selling them, and that was it. They were actually discontinuing them. Well, finally she paid them off from waitressing. My sister was pissed. "You spent $300 here, $400 there, $200 for this game system. Rita's not going to be appreciative." I was more appreciative. One time, I went to my mom and I said, "Mom, I know Grandma just died. I'd like a Neo Geo system." My mom went out and got me a Neo Geo full thing cartridge. They're like this, very big game. But anyways, I just want an arcade system. I got arcades. No problem. My mother's family disowned me pretty much. It was like my uncle Bureau, my aunt stayed with him. My Mormon aunt, they disowned me. My aunt from wherever disappeared, went down to Texas. I remember one time, I used to love wearing my cousin's clothes. I mean, there was one girl in the family, and I wore her clothes. I was happy. But now, looking back, I was a little rascal, I remember one time, my birthday, my mom wanted my party to be at my aunt's house. Got there, and me being stupid, I didn't even know what the fudge I was doing. That's what I say, F.K, but fudge, Christmas story. I opened up this box. Guess what? In the trunk, it was top of the line fishing box, vest, everything. My mom had a cake made. It was me sitting on a boat fishing. Well, I love fishing. Well, I found out there was a nice trolling pole. That's what we call it for out here in Puget Sound. That's what I was trying to explain to you earlier. In the trunk. I didn't even pay attention. I just opened the trunk one day and was like, "Oh, what's this?" I didn't pay attention. Closed it up thinking, "Yeah, no, it's not my business." Well, when my mom presented it to my birthday, I realized, hey, it was my birthday present. I saw it, but I didn't pay attention. I was more interested in wanting the latest gizmos and gadgets than, Heck, I remember growing up, I asked my mom several times, "Sears has got a deal on this computer." I ended up with a 386 Windows computer, or this or that, My mom was the type of person that was looking out for me. I remember one time I went to a place where my mom's boyfriend, "You're going to call me dad or else." My mom bought me a computer. Well, guess what? Everyone hogged it. Laptop, same way. Mom would use her Radio Shack card. In the end, it was a different feeling, Angela? a different feeling, a different structure, stratosphere, you know. And I grew up with, you know, being pampered, but I also grew up knowing right from wrong. My mom kept me out of drugs, kept me out of alcohol. I went to Australia, I started drinking there. The first time I went to Australia, I was drinking bourbon, you know, whiskey from Kentucky. And Fiona would be like, "Oh, what's this? Kentucky bourbon? Have you been to Kentucky?" No, well, about 9 years later, ended up in Kentucky, and well, let me tell you, whiskey prices there are cheap, but bottom line, I had a nice, comforting life for the most part. When my mom died, thought things went down the toilet. I drank heavily. I didn't care what my sister said. My sister left, came back twice, and she came back twice in the 2 years to say, "Oh, your niece wants to spend time." My niece didn't want to spend time with me, so in the end, to each their own. It's just me and Aaron. Everyone disowned me because I'm the tranny freak or this or that. But you know what? I'm not a freak. I can tell you with a kind heart that I love you very much. I'm doing this video even though it's 56 minutes long. That certain things I don't like to discuss, like the girl giving me clothes or giving me her tights. You know, I don't even know why I still have them in a Ziploc bag, but you know, I don't sniff them or anything. It's just like, oh, I remember this was the only thing I kept because my brother burned every other pair white. I mean, the girl said, "What's your favorite color?" White. You know, and when I found out the same pairs that she had, I bought them to wear myself, and I loved them. That's why my profile picture is Skype. So, but no, I'm not a pervert. I'm not anything like that. But you know what? In the end, it's only what you make out to be. But you know what? I've had a good life. You know, I mean, heck, I remember one time my mom got a Sears catalog. She's like, "What do you want?" I says, "I want this. It's got an equalizer, a tape deck, a CD player, detachable speakers, and a TV all built in." It was like a little miniature home entertainment. Picked up the phone, called Sears right then and there. It's in the mail. Sister had a fit about that. So, to each their own. My sister thought she got the shaft. She should have been the pampered princess. Well, I was the disabled one. Mom wanted to make sure I was taking care of Mom. She never faltered. And I loved Mom very much. I mean, heck, you gotta love Mom when she never punished you for getting on a bicycle and riding all the way to the 7-Elevens. You know, she figured it was either me or the other daughter. Maybe Mom knew, who knew? But me, when I started working, I bought my own games. I was quite content. The only thing I regret telling Mom was she was going to die of lung cancer. 10 years later, she died. 14 years later, she died of lung cancer. So, only thing I regret. Otherwise, life was good. Never knew how much until you asked me about that question about my life. Well, so, anyways, Angela, I gotta cut this short. I'm gonna finish this glass of wine. I'm gonna have to get moving soon and get Blizzard ready to go. I have to take a trip soon, but I still got a couple hours to go. So, for the rest of you hanging on this long, that's the history of my life. I'm not gonna break into other details, but you got the gist of it. Please add and subscribe if you like. Please post comments in the box if you like. Please add me as a friend if you like. Thank you, and have a nice day.